Hey Clear Lake peeps, Ross England here with Clear Lake Guide Service. Floating around out in the mouth of my creek right now in a kayak that I borrowed from one of my neighbors. Just trying one out. This is the first time I've ever been able to get in one that's got pedal power. And I'll tell you what, pedaling feels a lot better than paddling. But I'm new to this. I've had kayaks for a while, so bear with me. Hopefully we don't hear a glug glug as I miscalculate and move around. Floating around out here in the mouth of the state park. A little overcast today. I was going to come out yesterday, but it was actually hot. And actually this is the first time I've seen anybody. I've been out here about 4 different times over the last couple of weeks. Just to do something different, just to get out in the creek, just to get out on the lake and look around. And today's the first time that I've actually seen somebody else. And I'm looking out about 300 yards out into the lake right now, and there's a couple of people on paddle boards. And they're just hauling fanny down the midsection of the lake. So, who'd have thunk it? We got company. Okay, let's real quickly just kind of talk about news of the lake. There really isn't. Consider this your update. There isn't an update. Nothing new. We had a little bit of confusion last week where we thought for one day, well, first of all, they allowed boats, paddle boats, kayaks, kick boats to be back out on the lake, which was kind of exciting until we found out about 2 o'clock that afternoon that did not include fishing from those rigs. So I guess this is the only purpose, is to let 2 or 3 people paddleboard out here. And I know that there were some people who traveled from distances to get here to be able to come out and do this, but and I'm sure it's happening. But here's what you can do. You can take a paddleboard, a kayak, a kick boat, and you can maneuver yourself to somewhere and get out on the shore, and then you can fish the shore. That is apparently cool by the restrictions. You just can't fish from your boats. So, seen some stuff. I know Frank posted some stuff last weekend of a boat and some canoes and whatnot. They were out fishing in the Keys, but you know, you got to figure that if you've got a bunch of people, there's going to be somebody who's not playing by the rules. So anyway, that's the update on what's going on. Expect things to stay this way probably for the next couple of weeks. You know, this is gonna drop around the end of the month, and we're looking at May. So I'm just, based on what we've been told, probably not going to be any changes through the middle of May. And my own gut feeling, for what it's worth, is once we've made that kind of an investment, probably nothing's going to change significantly up here, at least on the lake, until probably the 1st of June, after Memorial Day weekend. Just my guess, no inside knowledge. It's just based on everything that's going on, what I think is going to happen. So anyway, that's that. You know, I want to thank you guys and gals for the positive comments from the video last week. I had a real kick out of doing that, and you folks were very encouraging and with some of the comments and some of the stories. And I got to tell you, I'm getting as much out of the things that you guys are typing back to me as I'm delivering. So let's just say to each other, let's just keep it up. So I promised last time that we would be able to talk about a goofy fishing adventure, a goofy tournament adventure. This is something that Jim and I laugh about all the time because it actually happened. I don't know the date. It was May, and it was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. But it was in a little one bass tournament, team tournament, and we actually thought we were going to do pretty good in that tournament. You know, we kind of we were all set to go. We were prepped. As I recall, we had a pretty good little swim bait bite going. So of course, we go prepared to fish swim baits, which is, 3 or 4 rods apiece, loaded up with swim baits. Didn't carry a whole lot of anything else. We're in Jim's boat. So we spent about the first 2.5 hours fishing, and as I recall, Jim never got bit. I finally broke down and I changed to another bait. Didn't even have a spinner bait. A spinning rod. Well, we have one spinning rod in the boat, as it turned out. I ended up catching a couple of. They were keepers, but really short keepers. So, it's Clear Lake. You don't keep those size fish. So we let them go. We were confident we were going to catch more fish. Not so. So after about 3.5 hours, 4 hours of figuring out that what we thought was going to do really well wasn't going to do well at all, we start scrounging around in the boat trying to figure out, okay, what else can we do? Because this is a mess. Right now we're pretty much on the heavy end of being on the bottom of the totem pole. So we scrounged and scrounged and scrounged around the boat. Finally, Jim did have one spinning rod in the boat. Then we had to dig around, and we finally found a sinker, a drop shot sinker. We finally found a hook that we could tie on, because we didn't have any of that stuff in the boat. It was just scrounging through the compartments, looking through the carpet, trying to find something that was stuck. So we got a hook, we got a sinker, and now we don't have any tackle bags, we don't have any baits. So, we still keep scrounging around through the compartments and whatnot, and we finally come up with a little 2.5-inch paddle tail that was made by Maverick Worms. And it was not in the greatest shape, but it at least was fishable. So we now had a spinning rod, we had a drop shot rigged up, and we had one bait. We'd kind of found some what we thought were smaller fish on beds back in an area down by Horseshoe, and we went back in there. We had about 3.5 hours left to fish at that point, and I think the second or third fish that we caught there's only one of us fishing because we only had one bait, only one spinning rod. I think the second fish that we caught was a six and change, which really got us started, and to make what is a really weird story come to an end. We went from thinking we were doing really good in our practice and we really knew what we were doing and we were going to experience a good tournament, which we'll call the thrill of premature victory, to what felt like the agony of defeat and like, oh crap, which, hey, when you're fishing that way, that's the way it goes sometimes. It's the highs and lows. You either do really, really well or you really, really stink. Right back to the fact that we ended up, after that messed up day, and thank God that one little bait that allowed us to get 5 fish in a boat, we ended up winning that tournament. We didn't have big fish, but we had second big fish and we won the tournament, and it was all on that one goofy little paddle tail grub that hung out long enough to let us catch 5 fish, one decent one. That's probably the most messed up tournament win that we had, where we went in. But I'll tell you, other than one other tournament, that's probably the proudest tournament that we won, because we just didn't give up. We also learned a lot of lessons that time. We never ever 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 fished another tournament without having a couple of spinning rods in a boat and a couple of drop shot or shaky heads rigged up just as a backup plan. So we never ever went into a tournament again so confident that we didn't go prepared with a backup plan. What else came out of that tournament? I think just the deal of, we had, one thing that I really loved about fishing with Jim is we had a good time. We worked hard at what we did. We concentrated really hard. We tried to put ourselves in positions to be ultra competitive and finish in the top. Our goal every time we went out and fished a tournament was to try to win it. We put in the homework to try to be able to do that. And, it's fishing. I don't care who you are. Sometimes you think what you're going to do is going to be the real deal. It's going to work and you got it dialed in. And other times, it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes, the spot that maybe it's just one spot that you really want to fish, and you get there and there's already a boat sitting on it or 2 or 3 other boats sitting on it. That's why the value of these backup plans are so important. That don't use us as an example on that one, because we didn't have a backup plan. We did from that tournament on, but we sure as heck didn't have one on that one. So that was a good experience. It was a really good learning curve for us. And the fact that by that time I'd probably been fishing tournaments for 20 years and was still learning stuff. Either I'm a really, really slow learner or there's just a lot of stuff to learn. So either way, we turned that into a positive. Now, honestly, I can't even tell you how many other times we had goofed up events where we showed up and, the starting battery was dead. We had to go back, get another boat. I mean, you name it. There's all kinds of stuff. So that was probably the goofiest win that we had. It was a miracle that we pulled it off. So I guess I'll take one other one on it, and that's this was back, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, maybe 11. We fished another event. In fact, this one was so long ago that it was out of Konocti Harbor, the old original resort. And it was cold. It was a cold morning. I think it was in late February. May have been in March. Can't remember which right now, but I think we probably, for an organized event, we probably ended up with the smallest second big fish in a tournament. There was a lot of locals that fished this event, and it just was a tough bite. I mean, really tough. I ended up losing a fish right off the bat that couldn't tell what size it was, but I'm going to tell you to this day it was between 2 and 3 pounds. It just got me around a rock and cut my leader. We ended up with fishing the rest of the day. We caught 2 more fish. One of them was about 2.5 pounds. That was our big fish. So, I mean, and we didn't talk to anybody, so we didn't know what was going on. I've never experienced that tough of a bite on Clear Lake personally. So we we head back for the weigh-in, and of course Jim is cussing under his breath, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with dragging our fish up and going to weigh-in. So I kept telling him, said, you sign up for these things and you show up. Sign up, show up, you weigh what you got. That way you're happy for the people who do well, and people are happy for you when you do well, because, it's kind of a two-way thing. So we're getting up to the weigh-in area, the boat check-in area, and I'm not going up there. I'm not going up. Okay, fine. I'll carry the fish. No sweat. I'll go up and, we fished. We're gonna take them up there. All right. So he gets me up closer, and we're up to the check-in boat now, and we're noticing that there's nobody sticking around the dock that you tie up to go up and weigh fish. So we finally started asking a couple people. No, never got bit. No, never caught a fish. We're like, are you kidding me? So all of a sudden we're looking at each other like, Now all of a sudden Jim's a little bit more interested in going up and weighing in the fish. So we get up there, tie up, and go in, take our 2 fish up. Lo and behold, we're leading and have big fish with, I think it was 3.5 pounds or something like that. May have been 4. I don't remember the exact number. We ended up taking second place. Gary O, a guy that I've fished against for 100 years, they came in with 3 fish, and they had, if I remember correctly, a 3-pounder, which probably is a record for the smallest big fish in an organized event on Clear Lake. So the top 2 boats had 10 fish, and they couldn't give out a check for if I remember right, it was 7th place on down. There was only 6 boats that weighed in a fish. So when you're out here having a tough day on Clear Lake, remember, it can be tough. So that's just a couple of tournament stories. I don't know what we'll talk about on our next video, but thank you very much. Appreciate you listening. Have patience. I hope wherever you live, there's body of water that you can fish. And this will be over. I don't know when, but it'll be over. So we'll see you. Keep in touch. Thanks.